Hey guys, it's me, Seren, back with another video. We are up to day 6 of our Hidden Figure series. Thank you guys so much for watching and enjoying these videos and leaving such wonderful comments and making such great suggestions. This is actually a suggestion that someone left in the comment section on one of the previous videos. Anna Arnold Hedgeman, born July 5th, 1899, and died January 17th, 1990. She was close to 100 years old. Anna Arnold Hedgeman was an African-American civil rights leader, politician, educator, and writer. After being the executive director of Harry Truman's 1948 presidential campaign, Hedgeman was rewarded with a federal appointment in the Health, Education, and Welfare Department in the new president's administration. She was also appointed to the cabinet of New York City Mayor Robert F. Wagner, Jr., which made her the first African-American woman to serve under a New York City mayor. Hedgeman was a major advocate for both minorities and the poor in New York City, and she also served as a consultant for many companies and entities on racial issues, and late in her life founded Hedgeman Consultant Services. How does that become your job? Like race consultant. Like, I'm gonna be a race consultant and I'm gonna give people advice on race. Who knows how that becomes your job? Somebody give me the tea, because I want to know. Political activist and educator Anna Arnold Hedgeman was the first African-American woman to serve on the cabinet of a New York mayor when she worked during the term of New York City Mayor Robert Wagner from 1957 to 1958. Her career spanned more than 6 decades as an advocate for civil rights, and in 1963, she helped A. Philip Randolph and Bayard Rustin plan the March on Washington, and she was the only woman among the key event organizers, right? So this was a woman that was about that action, okay? Anna Arnold was born on July 5th, 1899 in Marshalltown, Iowa, to William James Arnold II and Marie Ellen Arnold. When Anna was a child, her family moved to Anoka, Minnesota, where the Arnolds were the only black family in the community. Her father created an environment that prioritized education and a strong work ethic, but Arnold learned how to read at home and was not allowed to attend school until she was 7 years old. Her parents homeschooled her. If you have not seen my video on homeschooling and a lot of the benefits of homeschooling for Black youth, please check out that video. It should be popping up somewhere in the upper right hand corner, and there will also be links in the description box as always. She was nurtured in a home of former slaves in both parents and grandparents. At night, all of her family members reported on how they had been useful. Useful was the optimum word, aka how have you been useful to yourself and useful to life. Now that's something that I think is really, really important before I even continue. As soon as I read that about this woman, it just really, really struck me as something that I wanted to mention in this video. This concept of useful, and having these conversations at home with your family members even, how have we been useful? How have we been useful today? How have we been useful to ourselves, and how have we been useful to life? What have we done today to be useful to each other, to our communities? Really, 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 powerful mindset to have, and a way of thinking. How have we been useful, and how can we be useful moving forward, right? After graduating from high school in 1918, Arnold was accepted into Hamline University, a Methodist college in St. Paul, Minnesota. She graduated 4 years later with a Bachelor of Arts degree in English, the first African-American to earn a degree at that institution. Tons of firsts with this woman. While at Hamline, Arnold heard W.E.B. Du Bois give an address and was inspired to become an educator. Immediately after graduation, Arnold accepted a teaching position at Rust College in Holy Springs, Mississippi, the oldest of the historically black colleges and universities. She taught English and history there for 2 years, and while in Mississippi, she experienced severe racial segregation and discrimination, leading to her later involvement in the civil rights movement. In 1944, Anna Arnold Hedgeman was appointed to be the executive director of the National Committee for a Permanent Fair Employment Practices Commission. She also served briefly as Assistant Dean of Women at Howard University, as Public Relations Consultant for Fuller Products Company, and as Associate Editor and columnist for the New York Age. In 1948, she worked on the Harry Truman Presidential campaign, and from 1954 to 58, she served in the cabinet of New York Mayor Robert F. Wagner Jr. as the first Black woman to hold that position. By the early 1960s, Hedgeman was well respected as a civic leader and helped Philip A. Randolph and Bayard Rustin plan the 1963 March on Washington, which brought over 250,000 people, 250,000, to the nation's capital, right, in the 60s. In 1963, that's a lot. During the Great Depression, Anna Arnold Hedgeman worked for New York City's Emergency Relief Bureau, which later became the Department of Welfare, as its first consultant on racial problems. She investigated the Bronx slave markets, in which Black women were hired out by the day to serve as domestics in near-slave conditions. There will be links in the description box on the Bronx slave markets. She also completed the first study of the living conditions of Puerto Ricans in New York and advocated successfully for civil service appointments for Black and Puerto Rican New Yorkers. During World War II, Hedgeman served as a civil defense official for New York, New Jersey, and Delaware, focusing on the needs and struggles of Black workers who found much defense-related employment closed to them. And in 1944, she moved to Washington, D.C., becoming the executive director of the National Council for a Permanent Fair Employment Practices Commission. Like, here's someone that literally dedicated her life to helping others, to helping Black people, to helping poor people. Like, dedicated her life to helping others. In 1954, Hedgeman became the first African American and first woman appointed to a New York City mayoral cabinet, and she became once again a forceful advocate for New York City's poor. She also ran unsuccessfully for political office in New York City 3 times. Having received an honorary doctorate from Hamline University in 1948, she became widely known in Harlem, her adopted home, as Dr. Hedgeman. Hedgeman was as conscious of the workings of gender as she was of the workings of race, acutely aware that the two could rarely be disentangled. She gave lectures on women's rights long before the feminist movement took hold, and in 1960 she was invited to be the keynote speaker at the first conference of the women of Africa and African descent in Accra, Ghana, following that country's independence. Later, in 1966, she would be one of the founders of the National Organization for Women, NOW, which is a very, very famous women's rights group, pushing the group to focus its efforts most on the needs of poor women. So this is a woman whose face should be plastered all over every feminist, anything that you see. But she's not there. She's a hidden figure. Founding member of NOW. Did all this work, dedicated her life to women, to the poor, to Black people, to minorities. This woman's face should be plastered everywhere. The only woman that was, a recognized organizer of the March on Washington. We should know this woman's fucking name. And now you do. Anna Arnold Hedgeman, a hidden figure. So I'm going to read you guys a quote from Anna Arnold Hedgeman. In planning the 1963 march, she found it incredibly disturbing that these men had not thought to include a Negro woman speaker at the march. Their initial plan was for Randolph to ask several Negro women to stand while he reviewed the historic role of Negro women, and then the women would merely take a bow at the end of his presentation. Hedgeman wouldn't stand for it and instead drafted a memorandum to the group, noting that, and this is a quote from her, these are her direct words, "In light of the role of the Negro woman in the struggle for freedom, and especially in light of the extra burden they have carried because of the castration of the Negro man in our culture, it is incredible that no woman should appear as a speaker at the historic March on Washington meeting at the Lincoln Memorial." I'm going to read you guys a quote from Jennifer Scanlon, who wrote a book on her life called Until There Is Justice, The Life of Anna Arnold Hedgeman, which will be in the description box. And that quote by Jennifer Scanlon says, Given the resistance she encountered in her work on the March on Washington and in other civil rights endeavors over her long life, Anna Arnold Hedgeman felt at times bitter and humiliated. She met resistance from male organizers who dismissed her entreaties for the full involvement of women, activists who scorned policy initiatives, and policymakers who dismissed the potential of mass movements, and white religious and civil rights and civil leaders who felt that the march or other solitary events formed ends in themselves. She relied on her faith and her family as she resolutely carried on. Jennifer Scanlon, Until There Is Justice. Any of you guys that want to check out that book on her life, there will be a link in the description box. I'll read a little bit of the blurb to you. A demanding feminist, devout Christian, and savvy grassroots civil rights organizer, Anna Arnold Hedgeman played a key role in over half a century of social justice initiatives. Like many of her colleagues, including A. Philip Randolph, Betty Friedan, and Martin Luther King Jr., Hedgeman ought to be a household name, but until now she has received only a fraction of the attention she deserves. And Until There Is Justice, author Jennifer Scanlon presents the first ever biography of Hedgeman. So yeah, if any of you guys want to check out that book, there will be, of course, links in the description box. Another amazing Black women. I feel like I myself am learning so much that I'm like, really, really, really happy that I decided to do, this series. So Anna Arnold Hedgeman, Hidden Figures, Black Women in History, super, super, super important figure. Please read more about her. Food for thought as always. See you guys next time. Peace.